Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of Bowl Predictions here at Inside Nebraska. With me, as always, is Steve Mark, Tim Verghese, and I'm Zack Carpenter. Boys, we got the classic rugged Big Ten style matchup coming up. Nebraska Rutgers, 3 p.m. Central on Saturday on FS1. Right now, as we're recording this, a few days out, Nebraska -7 in the on the spread, and the over/under is 41.5 for the point total, which is a little bit, I think it's right in the range of what we sort of expect coming in. Steve, you and I were in West Lafayette for whatever that first half was against, or between Nebraska and Purdue, and then full game sort of evens out. But that I said afterward, that was, I know divisions are dead. Big Ten West is dead, but that was a Big Ten West football game on Saturday. That had the fingerprints of a Big Ten West divisional game that we saw for so long. And then I heard you guys, you and Tim on your show, the Nebraska Football Show. Great show. You guys should check it out if you haven't already on the Inside Nebraska YouTube channel. Encourage you guys to like this video, subscribe to our channel, get all these videos dropped directly into your feed. But Steve, you said even though Rutgers was in the East and the divisions are dead, this still feels like a Big Ten West style game coming up.
Well, I think I said Rutgers. This upcoming game against Rutgers is going to feel like that same kind of Big Ten West vibe, even though Rutgers was a East member and then the divisions are no more. But yeah, that was a brutal game to watch, especially in the first half at Purdue, because I mean, look, it was just a hard watch for any football fan, and I consider myself like a hardcore football fan that can find beauty in anything. But boy, the refs made it tough in that first half and the offenses made it tough on themselves too. Purdue's just not very good. Graham Harrell just got fired for obvious reasons. And yeah, I mean, Nebraska just did what they had to do in the second half, and the defense played lights out for the whole game. And it was just a bad game to watch in the first half, but they got things rolling in the second half and got out of there with a road win. Considering playing the third string left tackle, some other things that they had to go through, like the Micah Mazuka drama. There's a lot of stuff swirling around the program, but they went in and left with a win. So that's all that matters, really. So
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that they were at least able to get actually wind up getting out of there um unscathed, because for a while it did feel, I mean, say what whoever can say whatever they want to say, but after that first half, I don't think anyone was feeling good in there, and you start thinking, okay, how are we gonna cover this if Nebraska loses? I mean, this would be one of the biggest disappointments in recent memory. But they didn't. They won the game. They came alive there in the second half. They're um, the defense had the bounce back game, and now you have a completely different test coming in Rutgers. Tim, I know you guys were talking. Obviously, a big thing that we'll probably get into here is Kyle Monungai is the star running back at Rutgers, and I mean Nebraska. This this defense. I mean, in 2022, they went through the gauntlet of right in a row there of elite Big Ten running backs, like four in a row of guys who arguably you could have said is the best running back in the Big Ten. You had in order, I believe, Chase Brown, Mo Ibrahim, Blake Corum at Michigan, and then Braylon Allen. Oh, and then you end with Caleb Johnson and LaShawn Williams against Iowa. You don't really see that now. You don't have four guys competing in the Big Ten for like the best running back in the Big Ten. Obviously, Ohio State has their duo. There's some good backs, but I don't know. Nebraska's not going to have that gauntlet. This is the guy, Kyle Monungai, Tim, who is he's that guy. He's arguably the best running back in the Big Ten currently, and uh, that's the key is how Nebraska is going to defend a guy who great vision, great balance, and keeps the legs moving to churn out extra yards in a game like this where every yard feels like it's going to matter.
Yeah, again, this is a game where I think the margins absolutely matter. Like every single, like you say, every single yard counts, and it's the best or the toughest running test Nebraska's faced, rushing threat Nebraska's faced. They had a little like that little trio of backs at Illinois and obviously Northern Iowa's, big heavy backs, but this is the best they're going to face this season outside of Ohio State's duo of Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson. I think this is the best running back room too, behind Kyle, you've got Samuel Brown. I like him as well. They both run hard. Yeah, it's tough. I will say I like what I saw from Nebraska's defense last week. I feel like they're getting back to fundamentals, playing fast, playing loose, rallying to the football. That's going to be really important today. Is just rallying to Kyle, making sure he gets down when you make contact with him, eliminating as much of those leaky yardage. We saw that long run by him against Washington where he just kept breaking tackles and refused to go down. You can't have that happen to you this week, because he's the focal point of the offense. Everyone knows, like for that offense to work, it's going to have to go through him. I think Ethan does a good job of hitting his targets and getting to spots. But
And
if you have to,
real quick on if you want to talk about the eighth and Caligmanis angle, because I've been only thinking, I feel like, about Kyle Monungai and stopping that running attack. I mean, it's a quarterback who's had success against Nebraska. I mean, he's played 6 quarters. He's 2-0 against Nebraska. He came in, played the entire second half in 2022. Obviously, this entire season opener at Minnesota before transferring to Rutgers. 2-0, just the most important stat. But he's 30 for 56 in 6 quarters against Nebraska, 30 for 56, 54.6% completion percentage, 333 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He is a little mobile. Like he can get out and keep plays alive with his legs a little bit. I don't know if he's not the running threat you're going to see like a traditional running quarterback or anything, but he can create more.
he can move for sure. He can
Yeah,
move.
exactly. So that's
Um,
another challenge that this Nebraska defense is going to have to face.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, he's a guy that, again, he's not going to really put the ball in harm's way like that, but he's also not going to blow you away with like, throwing it downfield or anything. But he does a good job of taking his checkdowns, making the safe throws, extending plays, and then dumping it off. Like, it's the type of quarterback Nebraska struggled with this year. You saw it with Altmaier. And it's a quarterback that I think it's going to challenge Nebraska just because they've seen him before. They know what he's capable of. They're going to have to cover so much grass defensively. I think when they go through the air, versus on the run, you can kind of key in on the back and try and bring them down. But they're going to have to cover a lot of ground just because Ethan can make things happen underneath.
All right, boys, let's get into some bold predictions now. Get more specific and run through these because we're talking all about the things that Nebraska is going to have to defend and all the challenges. But Nebraska's got dudes too. They've had a successful running game overall over the first 4 games. And again, I keep getting this close to getting the bold prediction correct. What did I say last week? If you guys remember, it was Gabe Ervin and Dante Dowdell each score a rushing touchdown, and they each do it in the second half because Nebraska is going to score multiple touchdowns in the second half for the first time this year. They scored 4 total, 3 offensive touchdowns. Dante Dowdell had one of those rushing scores, and it came either the play or 2 plays after they did like this end around play for Gabe Ervin who gets tackled at the one. I just turned to Steve. I'm like, man, again, I'm getting that close, but it's about the process, not results, right, boys? I mean, the process is there. The thought process is close to being on the money. So, Steve, how close are you going to get with your bold prediction this week?
Probably not very close, but we're gonna say it anyway. So my bold prediction here is Nebraska's offense generates a season high 7 rushes of at least 10 yards. So I guess that's pretty specific for me. I always try to be specific and bold with these things, but when I look
It's
at
not as bad
Rutgers,
as it used to be, where we're like Nebraska's going to return a punt at least 5 yards a couple of years ago, or even last year. Like they're gonna be cleaning that operation, but
yeah. So when I look at this game, I look at Rutgers defense, and the rush defense. It's not where Greg Schiano really would like it. They're allowing over 170 yards, rushing yards per game. That's 17th in the Big Ten. They're allowing almost 6 yards per carry. That's dead last in the conference. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for Nebraska's rush game, traditional handoff run game to get going here. And they did a little bit better of a job in the second half than they did in the first half against Purdue last week. So, and I went back and I looked at it. Nebraska has had 6 runs of 10 yards or more against UTEP and Colorado, but then it went down to against Northern Iowa. They only had 4 runs of 10 yards or more, and then Purdue they had 3, and then Illinois 2. I think they get 7 against Rutgers defense because I just think that they've been gashed on the ground this season, and Marcus Satterfield I believe is going to see the opportunity there, lean on that offensive line, which showed some good things in the second half. And I think that Emmett Johnson, Dante Dowdell, even Ja'Cory Barney Jr. is going to get in on the fun on that rush attack. And I think Nebraska is going to get out of this thing with 7 runs of at least 10 yards. So that'll be a season high for them.
I like it. And, I would even add in there too, like, compared to Purdue, we talked about so much last week about Purdue's running defense and Nebraska's opportunity there. A lot of Purdue's struggles against the run were schemed up runs. Nebraska didn't exactly scheme up runs necessarily. They just kind of did what they do. Against Rutgers, it's a different story. You can just run on them. They don't need to scheme it up, really. You can just kind of run down their throats. And I think Nebraska is gonna fully take advantage. And I said it on the Nebraska football show, and I'll say it again. Like, I think that O-line's starting to find a bit of find their rhythm and find their groove, I guess, as a unit. I'm going way out there on mine. I'm doing 2 special team scores somehow, some way. I'm not eliminating it to just Nebraska. Part of the reason I factor this in under Greg Schiano, I believe it's 75. Let me confirm.
Now, while you're confirming that, does this count field goal conversions as well? Special team score. You did say that. Are you going to try to get out of this on technicality?
Nebraska's going to make a field goal?
No, not on field goals. I'm going to say
being fairly bold at this point.
Yeah, special teams like untraditional. I don't know what the best way to put it.
Special teams touchdowns.
Special teams touchdowns.
There we go.
Because 71, that's the number. But Nebraska, Rutgers under Greg Schiano has blocked 71 kicks. If Nebraska lines up ever in the field goal position, you gotta be worried about that. Even in like the reason I say score as well is I could see a blocked PAT return for 2 points, something like that. Also on Nebraska's end, Nebraska's been itching to get a kick return touchdown, and I feel like Barney's been a block or 2 away. But Barney's been a block or 2 away. It feels like a couple times this year, and I think there's a chance that pops through for them this week. I think there's a chance on the other side of the ball as well. Nebraska's gotten close on blocking some punts. They could get close here today or on Saturday. I just think somehow, some way, there are 2 special team scores on Saturday. I know it's way out there. I know it's very random. But I'm just
we love random on this show.
This feels like a game where that really matters. And
the last time that Nebraska played Rutgers, it was at Piscataway. Zack, you and I were there. Was it Malcolm Hartzog who scooped and scored a block punt for a touchdown?
That was Indiana. That was Indiana.
Indiana.
Wasn't it? Yeah, that was Indiana.
My bad.
But it was 15-14.
We'll cut that.
On the,
I'm just kidding. We're not going to cut
it. We keep everything in this show. 15-14 though on a Friday night game was so weird. You just there had to be something wacky on special teams happening. But 71 kicks, that seems impossible.
Shiano's been there for a long time. 2 stints.
Shockingly. Wow. All right, 71 kicks. I mean, who knows? I mean, this is that type of program that fights for everything. Like we say, defends every inch of the field. Fights for every. Yep. They're amazing lumberjacks as well.
That's not a knock. I think it's cool. I think it's cool when they do that stuff. So I'm not making fun of you, Rutgers. I would love Nebraska to do something similar.
Maybe that's why Cal McManus went there. He went from Minnesota all the way over to Rutgers because, well, they chop wood there too. So I don't know where his hometown is. I didn't look it up. So maybe that doesn't track. But
I think he's from like Illinois or something.
Okay. Hey, me too. Shout out. But your Ja'Cory Barney. Touching on him, Tim, I decided to be the one this week to do our weekly Ja'Cory Barney bowl prediction. I feel like one of us, maybe it's just what it feels like. I think like 3 or 4 times at least this year, one of us has said something about Ja'Cory Barney in these bowl predictions, whether it's the written ones on the site, which are separate from the ones we do on the video. But mine's hyper specific because I keep coming back to this. That there's a gut feeling in my mind. I mean, Ja'Cory Barney first off, I'm just going to say my bold prediction. My bold prediction is that Ja'Cory Barney throws a pass in this game. I wanted to go more specific and even bolder. and say Ja'Cory Barney throws a touchdown pass to Alex Bullock. And Steve, I want to get to that in a second. Specificity of that. I'm getting there. I'm learning every week, guys. So Barney, high school quarterback, or he has quarterback in his background in high school, Miami Palmetto, threw for 9 touchdown passes. I know his senior year he was 14 of 18 for. I just wrote it down the other day, 150 some yards, I think, 180 some yards. But nine passing touchdowns, 1 interception in his career. And we heard from Marcus Satterfield yesterday talking about the creativity of just the run game, creativity of the offense. And to me, this is a game where it's Nebraska's weaknesses going against Rutgers' strengths, or at least things that have been not as strong as you want from Nebraska's side. I mean, you have they've had struggles finishing drives in the red zone. We saw that against UNI, saw that against Illinois, and if you're going against a team whose strength is the red zone, one of the strengths is the red zone defense. I mean, Rutgers is the best in the Big Ten, 54.5% red zone conversions. They've allowed a score on 6 of 11 opponent trips inside the red zone. 4 touchdowns, 2 field goals, 2 of 5 on field goals. One of those, like Tim said, might have gotten blocked. I didn't dive further into those numbers, but they don't have a turnover. They haven't forced a fumble or an interception in the red zone. So it's that bend, don't break, where they just, once it gets inside the red zone, they pack it in, and teams have a really tough time finishing those drives. Nebraska has a really tough time defending drives. Nebraska has a really tough time right now getting the field goal kicking operation down, whether it's the snap, whether it's the hole, getting the laces out, or just the kick goes wide left, whether it's Tristan Alvano or John Hall this season. So it's like, all right, are you going to have to find creative ways to run the ball or do one of those pop passes like Ja'Cory Barney, Janiyah, and Bonner have finished off? And I'm interested if they do run some sort of trick play, if they're having trouble running the ball once they get down in that area or throwing the ball. The reason I say Alex Bullock, and I keep going back and forth, because it's like, all right, you put Dante Dowdell or Gabe Irvin in there, and then Alex Bullock and Luke Lindenmeyer, and then Ja'Cory Barney's on the field. Like, is that going to be too much of a tell for a defense, or would you need Isaiah Nair and Jamal Banks, Emmett Johnson in on that package? Steve, I wanted to get your thoughts on that, because I keep going back and forth. Like, what do you think Nebraska would do in that hypothetical scenario I've created in my imagination?
Yeah, we saw it when against Illinois, right? Against when Dylan missed that throw to Luke Lindenmeyer. I mean, it was Luke Lindenmeyer as the target. That's not really a receiving tight end option that you think that Dylan will be throwing to in that situation. But you're right, Zach. I think it's because Marcus Satterfield wanted to give Illinois the look of, yeah, we're going to run this thing. Look at all of our big blocking tight ends in the game. We're not going to throw it to these guys. That's not what they're good at. And then you kind of throw the curveball and like, yeah, we're going to give a little play action look and then lob it into Luke Lindemeyer's hands in the back of the end zone. Little overthrown, but it just kind of shows you that Marcus Satterfield is willing to do that stuff. And Satterfield has really kind of shown us that he's willing to do a lot of different things with the offense in a lot of fun, creative ways. And so I definitely am with you, Zach, that Ja'Cory Barney Jr. is absolutely going to have at least one pass attempt this season. And it's going to be because you kept giving him these east-west things in every single game. Sooner or later, he's just going to keep going in a straight line and not curve down. And you're like, oh, he's going to throw this damn thing, isn't he? And then he's just going to like, whatever, do something exciting because he's Ja'Cory Barney. So yeah, I'm 100%.
He's pump faked a couple times.
Has he?
He has, I believe so.
Maybe
during the season.
Yeah, I believe we've seen it's a reverse, and he'll pump it, but then he chooses to keep it and just gets tackled or powers forward for a couple of yards. We've seen at least one. I'm almost certain of it. I have to go back and watch.
We gotta go look at the all 22 tape of it.
Every single
I must have missed that
touch.
one. I'd like to go back and watch it.
That's hilarious though, because I mean, like Steve, you said he's gonna throw at least one pass attempt this season. That's what I keep coming back to. Like, we're gonna see it one time. I swear we're going to see it one time, and this game just makes sense to me because of everything I said about the the red zone struggles, trying to find creativity, going against a team that's really good at defending the red zone. And it just all makes sense to me that you would pull out a trick like that. And maybe Ja'Cory Barney is pump faking on purpose, Tim. Maybe he's already that advanced level as a true freshman. He's putting that on tape, so defenses have to be aware of it. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
Yes,
That's what I'm saying.
exactly. That's what you're saying. So Steve, and then Tim, throw it to you. Just saying. Oh wait, we didn't even do final score predictions. Final score predictions, Steve.
Yeah, so like I said, when we kick this thing off, I think this just my gut is telling me that it's a Big Ten West type feel, and I know the divisions don't exist, and I know Rutgers was in the East, but I just think this is going to be a low scoring game. I think it's going to be a tough, gritty. Whoever runs the ball between the tackles the best is going to win this thing. It's going to be tight. It's going to be a one score game, in my opinion, which might scare some people considering Nebraska's field goal unit right now. But I think Nebraska gets out of there with a win. I think 24-20 Nebraska.
I like it. I'm in the same boat, 28-24. But I could see this going both ways, either way. Like I could see that 28 being Rutgers. I could see that 28 being Nebraska. It's real close for me. I don't think Nebraska covers this week. I do think it stays within that 10-point range. But for Nebraska this week, I really do think the margins matter so much this week, and that's my biggest thing is why I'm so hesitant to say Nebraska confidently, because Rutgers finds ways to win games. They were outgained by 200 yards last week, and they found a way to win. They find way, and this is that type of game where every single yard matters, every single like inch matters. Like it's just going to be tough for Nebraska to pull this off. I think a win here is huge for Nebraska moving forward, just in the terms of you learn how to win these type of games, you can survive in the Big Ten. But Nebraska really needs to show this week that they can win these type of games. I think the benefit going for them is this is an offense that's very similar to Rutgers, with a better running game, worse wide receivers, and a step down at quarterback compared to Luke Altmaier. And I think Nebraska has already seen a lot of these looks before. You would hope they have some adjustments for it. I think they're going to have an opportunity to get after the quarterback a little bit. And so I do think the defense is going to be able to hold up, but offensively, I'm curious to see kind of what Marcus Satterfield throws out there. And obviously special teams is just such a mess.
Ugly type game, like brutal physical game with an ugly final score for me. I said 29-13 in our picks. And I'm gonna stay with 29-13. I wanted to go 22-13 Nebraska. But maybe a little too random, because I'm thinking in my head, how did they get to 22? How did they get there? Like, all right, two touchdowns, a touchdown, 2-point conversion, two touchdowns, two field goals, and safety, whatever. Too many variables, but whatever. I don't care. I'm going 29. I don't know how they get to 29 even. That seems even more random almost than 22, but um it always scares me to predict a score like I mean, Rutgers, Illinois last time, or Rutgers, Nebraska last time they played was 15-14 as the final score. But it scares me to do something like the low 20s, or like, um, I hate betting on the under, and I hate predicting low scores, because it's like, all right, you get one or two broken coverage, guy falls down, get a 60-yard score or something randomly, like then the over is probably going to hit, or that final score prediction is looking a little too conservative or what have you. But that's what I'm going with for, just because I think we're going to see a muddier game. Not as bad as, I hope we don't see something as bad as Purdue, Nebraska, and hopefully the Big Ten officiating offices held some meetings this week, some player only type meetings this week to try brushing a lot of stuff up, because there've been, I mean, it wasn't just Nebraska, Purdue, where they combined for 24 penalties for what 260, almost 260 yards of penalty yardage, and no one wants to see that. But I mean, teams have to stop committing those penalties to put referees in that position, and referees need to be more consistent across the board. So it goes both ways. But Steve, then Tim, throw it to you. What any final thoughts, like 30 seconds or less? Any final thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, so Rutgers is going to run the ball just like Nebraska is going to want to run the ball. Rutgers is averaging a little under 240 rushing yards per game. That's third best in the Big Ten. Look, they do it well. And Kyle Monangai is really good. His backup, Samuel Brown, bigger than Kyle Monangai, and he's really good too. So limit what Rutgers can do on the ground. And if Rutgers is going to win, make them do it with Ethan Kaliak-Manis, because I don't think he's about that life. I don't think he's going to come in here and beat Nebraska with his arm in that passing attack. So if you can make Ethan Kaliak-Manis beat you, I think that's good news for the Huskers to get a win.
Yeah, completely agree. I think getting off to a hot start is so important for Nebraska here, like building up like a two-score lead as early as possible, just to put them into throwing positions, put them into the type of game. I mean, even on their side, the type of offense they like to play, the type of games they like to play. You put up some points and you build an early lead. It's tough for them to come back. This is a game, another one. Nebraska cannot let their foot off the gas at any point. You got to keep pressuring. You got to play 4 quarters of football. And we'll see. I think the home crowd does play a factor here when the margins are so tight. But on the flip side, another just again little thing. You mentioned penalties. Nebraska's got 40 on the year. Rutgers has 16 on the year. That type
Quite
of
the
margin
disparity.
matters. That type of one's a very disciplined team. The other one does not play like a very disciplined team uh, through 4 weeks. So curious to see kind of on both sides what we see on Saturday in that regard, and whether, the last 2 weeks specifically, rules comments, other teams comments, what that changes for the Big Ten refs as well, because it's been messy. It's been messy.
Wait, before we get out of here, Steve, you have a weather report. We now go to Steve with today's AccuWeather report.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Zach. We got a high of 96 at 3 p.m. in Lincoln. It's going to be very hot in Lincoln, Nebraska, with gusty winds. We're talking 40 miles an hour. I'm not making this up. I'm seeing it seeing it from other weather people in and around the Lincoln area. A high of 96 degrees in early October at 3 p.m. on Saturday in Memorial Stadium, with gusts as high as 40 miles an hour. So thank goodness Matt Rule and his Nebraska Cornhuskers are on the side of the stadium that will get the shade. So Rutgers, it's going to be a hot one out there. They will be baking on the other side of that field.
Shout out Jim
Back to
Harbaugh.
you, Zach.
Yeah, I like how you said other weather people in Lincoln. There, we're already putting you up against competition. Let's go do some scouting, see how the news crews are doing it. But shout out Jim Harbaugh. He's the one who pointed out to Matt Rule last year.
Nice guy.
Hey, yeah, right. It was like the week before all the scandal broke out against it was against Rutgers, where the halftime interview, I think Greg Schiano was in his halftime TV interview playing against Michigan, where he commented about, I can't remember, so I don't want to misquote it, but he said something about they're somehow they know how all of our plays before we even snap the ball or whatever it was. And then I'm pretty sure right after that is when the 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 stuff started hitting the fan. I was trying not to cuss and come up with a different word, but so there we go. Steve, do you have the last thought?
No, just gonna be hot. Stop the run game. If you do that, Nebraska's gonna win.
All right, well, that's going to do it for us. Again, encourage you guys to like this video, subscribe to the Inside Nebraska YouTube channel, get all of these videos. Steve and Tim's Nebraska Football Show, Steve and Jay Foreman, former Husker, on the Black Shirt Breakdown, and Tim's Recruiting Blitz. Did I already say that? Steve and Tim's Nebraska Football Show on Wednesdays, and then Tuesdays for Mondays. Let me start over. Mondays, recruiting, or the Recruiting Blitz for away games. Tuesday, Black Shirt Breakdown. Wednesday, Nebraska Football Show. And then Monday and Tuesday are flipped. And then we got bold predictions on Thursday. Didn't stick the landing quite there, but we'll have full coverage at InsideNebraska.com, and then more the press conference videos and rapid recap analysis after the game Saturday against Rutgers. Again, 3 p.m. Central, FS1. Nebraska's 7-point favorite, 41.5-point total. So we'll see what happens as we do every week. So for Steve Marek and Tim Vergeese, I'm Zack Carpenter. We'll catch you guys again next time.